Recording going. So welcome to Tech Thursday. We are going to be talking about the Deal of the Week system. This is a system that I first learned about actually before I was even with Real. It's a system that Sharon has put out there. Who's on the call? Just drop in the chat a thumbs up or give a thumbs up if you're familiar with the Deal of the Week system. All right, Lakeisha is awesome. All right, well then you're in the right place. You get an opportunity to learn here. So the goal of the Deal of the Week system is to get people to conversation, because as Sharon says a lot of times too, all conversion happens in conversation. So that's what we're going. That's the focus on this, which is why you'll see when we dive into it, the goal. Ideally, you're not going to drop links to the property. You're not going to drop photos to the property. It's just a text only to get them engaging with you, and then give them a reason to reach out to you for more information. And the great part about this, from my perspective, is you don't want to overthink about the property. It's not necessarily about what property you're choosing for the Deal of the Week. It's really just to get people in conversation. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you, again, where you can find some information on it if you want to dive into it, because I'm not going to spend a ton of time diving into the logistics behind or the reasoning behind it. I did just want to give that a shout out, but I'm going to share the resources of where you can find that information, and then dive into some things that you can do to become super efficient with creating your Deal of the Week, as well as some other tools that you can use to kind of maybe even supercharge it up for social media purposes. So what I've been using it mostly for is just email purposes. So I use this templated format to send out the same kind of email every week. And that is the goal with it. It's just to create that consistency with it, so that your headline for the email or subject line for the email is going to be the same every week. Now you pick what your area is for it, and then you can begin implementing that. So we ready to dive in? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, hopefully here. All right, so if you are looking for more information on where to find this, the easiest place for me is if you go into Real Academy. So if you log into Real Academy, and so from your reason, then you log into your Real Academy, scroll down, I think is the easiest way to find it. If you scroll down, inside of this $1 million referral machine is both a link to the video of him breaking it down, as well as a link to the AI system that he's got here. So one thing I would highly recommend is if you use ChatGPT at all, and hopefully you watched a little bit of the video last week, I talked about AI. This is a custom GPT that Sharon has created that we can use to basically take about 10 seconds to create your Deal of the Week format. So no longer do you need to, what am I going to highlight? I don't have to know everything about every listing. Again, we're just our goal with this is just to get people into conversation. So that is where you'll find that. So once you sign up for the class, you'll have access to all of this. I mean, all of Sharon's teachings are amazing, but the Deal of the Week system is in there, as well as this automatic Deal of the Week creator. And that's where we're going to begin our focus today. So what I do is I'll go in, I usually go, mine goes out Tuesday mornings at 8 o'clock. That's the time that I choose for mine to go out, but I have it all set up on Monday. So I'll go in on Monday and I will look in, I use Flex for my MLS. So that's my front end. So this is mine may look different than your MLS, but I use Flex MLS. And I have all of, I have kind of little subsections here. So I have all of our company listings. So my goal is to highlight one of the firm's listings. It's just, it's easier, and I get to, helps one of my colleagues maybe get a little extra juice on one of their listings. So I'll go into here. I'll go into active listings. And then I will go into, I like to sort by the most recent. So I'll sort descending, and that's going to show me all my newest listings there. And then you can kind of see, which one you want to choose for your Deal of the Week. Again, don't overthink this part. This is, again, this is all just about getting them to conversation. This is not about like finding the deal of the week. I don't see it as that. Yeah, you absolutely do that if you've got a lot of extra time. The problem with that is hopefully if you start getting busy, you won't have as much time to put into it. The goal of this is just to get this out on a consistent basis. And I don't think you need to overthink it. So once you do that, you'll kind of find the property that you want to do. If you have installed Chiron's custom GPT, so if you have it, it'll look like this. You'll first log in to it. Hold on, let me get to there. All right, so you'll log in and you'll see it looks like this. So then what I do is I will then go out to a public, one of the third-party portals. The one I like to use is homes.com for this because it gives a nice flow of it. So I will go then find that listing on homes.com. So the one I've chosen for today for these purposes is Jackie Force's one of her newer listings here. It's a beautiful listing. Again, I didn't put too much time into it. I just kind of went through the newest listings. But what you can do once you have that custom GPT on your chat GPT, if you're using it, you don't have to scan and read and get all the highlights. You literally just go and copy the entire site. So I've just selected all and I've copied. That is all you have to do. And you're going to go into the custom GPT, and you literally just paste it. Nothing else to do there. And what this is going to do is it's going to first give you a summary. So you do have all the information that it pulled out of there. So you'll see I've extracted key details. And it's going to take a little time, of course, because we're live to analyze this, but it's usually pretty quick with it. But yeah, here you can see it has now summarized all the information from, if you look at this listing, it goes on for pages. I mean, you could scroll this for days to get all the information. And now it's got the interior features, exterior features. So it is basically just scraped the entire listing for you, pulled out the key features. And then where the magic is it's going to give you literally everything that you need to do in your email, if that's the method that you're going to use. So it's even got Raleigh deal of the week. Now, like I said, I try to be very consistent with my naming of this. So I actually have it as triangle area deal of the week. So that way I can pull from different areas. But if you want to focus on just Raleigh or just a specific town or city, you could absolutely do that. And so it gives you three options on how you want to use the subject line. And then it gives you the exact bullet points. So if you go and watch Chiron's video, if you were to do this manually, basically he says to give 2 bullet point details about the property, 2 like bedrooms, bathrooms, like just raw data, then 2 features of the property, and then 2 features about the neighborhood or the area. So you'll see what this has done. It has done exactly all of that for you. So it's got your little lead in, and it's got all the key highlights. And then here is the key. There's no link to the property. Like I said, there's no photos. You don't want to drop any of that stuff. It is, if you are interested, just reply and I will get you all the details. That is where the conversation happens. You'll get, you'll probably get like 1 or 2% response rate on this. That's fantastic. But again, those are the people who are actually want more information on it. And again, you're just getting them the conversation. You're not, more than likely, you're not going to sell them this house. You're just getting them the conversation so you can learn a little bit more about what they're at. So then I will literally just go into my CRM and I will copy and paste this. If I like, I'll go in and make sure there's nothing in there that's like, walking distance to the church. I'm going to make sure that because I don't know that it's programmed well enough to make sure that it doesn't have that kind of stuff. So I'll just scan it. You do have some accountability here. You do want to make sure that, the features are actually part of the house, or that the information that it pulled and extracted from that listing is going to be beneficial to you and accurate. I did a video earlier this week about double checking your AI work. It's a fantastic tool. You still have to double check it. So that's the Chat GPT version of it. Again, you could do it all manually as well. As you can see, this could literally be done in about 30 seconds. So I'm going to pause there. Questions, thoughts on that?
This is crazy easy.
It is.
This is crazy easy.
It's so you can't, yeah, there's really absolutely no excuse. to not implement it or to not use this with this, again, if you can't spend 30 seconds on this to get people to engage, and yeah, maybe you send it out 3 weeks in a row, you don't get any engagement. What have you spent 3 minutes on it? And then that fourth week, you get that, I mean, it's a $1.4 million listing here. I mean, you get that. You've paid for your time for 5 years with one conversation potentially. So that's again,
Do you,
that's the overview of the system.
do you always do it via email, or do you ever do it like a social media post?
What a fantastic segue, Yvonne. So yeah, I've focused mainly on the email because I can target very specific people. So on my CRM, I'm not going to show it today because whenever I show my CRM, YouTube deletes my video because it's doxing people there. So I have a segmented list that is tagged specifically for Deal of the Week, which is basically everybody. Because there's nobody that you wouldn't want to send this to. I just have mine segmented because it's both a Rhode Island and Massachusetts database and North Carolina database. So I'm not going to send it to the Rhode Island people. Although I guess they might. Some people do move here too. Maybe I should. So yeah, so that's where I started. I am going to start implementing some social media strategies around it. My challenge with my social media, 95% of my friends and followers are real estate agents at this point in time. So but I will show you, I do have some templates ready made to do that way. And that's exactly where I'm going to go next. All right. Any other questions or thoughts? All right, let's get back into it then. So again, indeed, once you've kind of get the email version of it down a couple times, there are a couple different ways you could get this done. If you go into Sharon's video, he talks about texting it as well. You could use that same format. You could literally copy and paste that into a text message, of course, with people that you have permission to text them with. And then you can also, post it. A couple ideas that I would use it for is maybe a story post. So if it's an Instagram story post, you could do it to video or you could do it to text. I've created a couple of Canva templates that I can use for that. Again, I haven't implemented this part. I've done it a couple times, but again, my stories are mostly viewed by real estate brokers, but maybe they have a buyer, but it's not my property. So then what I do is I would go into Canva. So I've created these templates here. So I have one called Deal of the Week Instagram Story Template. And then you could literally just do the same thing here. So I would do, I would get rid of the brackets there. That's just a, and then, so that's my first screen, and I'm asking them to tap here for more detail. So again, if you're familiar with the way Instagram stories work, you don't want them to swipe, because if they swipe on your story, it goes to the next person. So you want them to tap so that you can see the next slide. So what I would do is I would have it as a multi-slide story. So they've got to get to different parts of the story. But what I wouldn't do, at least for me, I've noticed when I go 5 or 6 stories deep into a day, my view on my stories drops significantly, as I get, my first one gets good views, second one, little less, third one. By the 4th and 5th one, no one's reading my story at that point in time. Now that may work a little better with this because you're actually telling a story with different slides. So you may get engagement. But what I've done is I will have a kind of a header slide to my story. And then I'll just put all the bullet points on my next slide. And then, message me for details. So you could literally do that same thing. You could copy it right from the ChatGPT, put it in here, and that's your Instagram story template for that week. Thoughts on that? Any other ideas you guys would have for like an Instagram story kind of version of it? You guys are a little loud today. Can you please just?
So my question is, so you're not doing any photos? You're not doing anything?
Correct. Yeah. The goal with this is to get them to engage, not to click. Because you get them to click, that doesn't prove you're not getting them to conversation with that. This is, it's a very simple call to action. It's message me through details. It's a tap for more details. It's going to get them to that next part of the story. And
Okay,
then,
so maybe I'm not understanding. So just this title page shows up only if they tap for more details, do they get page 2?
yeah, I mean, it'll automatically go to that next one too, after a certain amount of time usually. But if you wanted to, most people are on there for seconds at a time to read a story. And if you tap, it'll go to the next story or the next part of that story. If they swipe, it'll go to the next person's story in their timeline.
Right.
Yeah.
But then when it says message me for details,
Mhm.
then that's the same as if they had responded to your
If they
email.
hit reply to your email. Yep, that's the reply to the email part. Yep. So again, you could get, you could do, a talking head video about it too. I think this would work better for most people's stories. Maybe mix it up, see what works best for you. I like myself as a talking head video, but not in a story a lot of times. And then the other way you could do it, if you want to just mix it up or just see what works for you. Again, most of the time with stories, it's only, unless you promote it, it's only going to be your followers and friends that are going to see that story, and then usually a pretty small percentage of them. Unless you're cool like Dana and Anthony and have millions of followers. Now the other way, what's that?
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I really like this just as a way to like just get more content out there, because
Yeah.
what I'm trying to focus on right now is just getting more like real estate focused content out there. So that's
Mhm.
like a nice little quick, just like, hey, here's the deal.
Yeah, again, so now you're 30 seconds in, maybe a minute in first couple times to get your deal of the week formatted for you. Now you're, with a template, you're 3 minutes in to create your story. And then the other way, again, if you want more of that, that post that lives out there that maybe people revisit or get some steam down the road, you can do a post in your feed as like a carousel post. So Instagram has made a big push in the algorithm to get carousel posts that have music aligned to them. You're gonna get more views on them. So same kind of story, same kind of thing with the story with a carousel post. Again, if you've seen a couple other videos here, Instagram has changed the recommended size. That used to be squares that they liked. Now it's 1080 by 1350. If you use Canva, the templates are there now in that size. It's a 4x5 size instead of the square. But same kind of thing here. You're going to do deal of the week with a kind of like a title page to it. And then, maybe with this, you can get away with more slides to it. So I have it as, now you're swiping because this is a carousel. They are going to swipe on this. So I've got the swipe motion on there. I've got an overview, bullets 1, 2, bullets 3, 4, bullet 5, 6, and then the final one is just message me for details. And because we're real estate brokers, we have to have our photo in there because we have to make sure everybody knows who we are. So, again, just to create this template, now you've got this here. You can create this week after week and create that consistency that, you've got a system behind your social media strategy rather than just randomly posting pictures of your cat and dog, which I'm guilty of, the dog part. So what other creative ways do you guys think of, with using a system like this?
I was just gonna say even like note cards, because I've got a few like they're not clients yet, but people I
Mm-hmm.
know that invest in real estate that I could probably just, shoot them a note card. Hey, here's a few deals.
Yeah,
Let me know.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
mhm.
Yeah, I
And
love that.
I really like the text format, just like shooting a quick text, because a lot of my people they live on their phones, less
Mm-hmm.
like their emails. So I find like even if I try to call someone with some real estate information, they might not pick up. But if I shoot a text, they're more likely to just send a quick message right back.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Especially, yeah. So you're like you said, your people, your current Sphere database, right? Hopefully, as you grow in your business, I know you're doing more and more open houses. You're going to have that other database that probably will engage a little bit more in email, or at least open those emails
Yeah,
if you
right.
send that consistent messaging. That's the key with this, is that consistent messaging. And then what you'll find, and this is crazy because I've done this kind of consistent. What I used to do is one of the things I probably had my best open rate ever on. Every Friday, I would send out a list of all the open houses in the area. Now, this is going back probably 10 years. It was a little harder to get. I actually had to kind of manually gather that information. That email was consistently opened every week. And then I had a week that I didn't send it out. I got like 3 messages like, hey, where's my email? Where's my open house list this week? So even if they're not like getting that conversation with like stuff like that, they're seeing it and they're looking at it, and then when the right opportunity, when the right deal of the week pops on, they will absolutely be ready to pounce on it.
I have a question for Anthony. So when you send it as a text, would you suggest that we just do it, just the verbiage, like what came from the Chat GPT, or would you put it in a graphic so that you're texting the graphic? Which do you think would be better via text?
Yeah, honestly, for me, as just like a quick message that, I could just throw into the Chat GPT and it spits it out, I would just shoot the verbiage out there. And what I typically do, like if I text any like more like scripts like out to my Sphere, is I'll like edit the first sentence or maybe the last sentence just based on who I'm talking to, like based on our last conversation. And then
So
like,
they can tell it's you, so they
yeah,
know it's you and not a bot, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I would agree. I would keep it text based. That's the goal, is to get them to reply. And then when they reply to email, story, carousel post, whatever it is, now you're sending them the link to wherever you want them to go, whether it's your website, whether it's the MLS link, or hopefully you're not sending them Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com links. Hopefully you're sending them something better than that, your MLS link or your personal website link. So it's a powerful system, again, proven, with over a decade of sending out these kind of emails. And you could, and Anthony, you could even do one, you could even do one just to your investors, and that is, investment of the week, investment deal of the week. And, I guarantee they'd all open it, because they're always looking for that deal,
Yeah,
right?
right,
You know,
right.
it's just a, qualifying deal of the week is challenging, which is why I like to just not to give too much thought to it, and just you're just getting info out.
Hey, Chris, you were talking about your system that you work on it on Monday, then you send it out on Tuesday. When you're doing the Monday prep, you're doing the deal of the week email and carousel and story and all that. Are you also preparing your response so that it's there, it's just copy and paste on Tuesday once you send it out?
I haven't, only because I haven't gotten that like it's not 10 to 15 responses a week. My database here in the Triangle is just not that giant yet, but if hey, I guess that'd be a good problem to have, like 10 or 15 responses to your deal of the week every week. But yeah, that would be a great idea too. You could definitely have it in, whether you have it as a saved note in your phone that you can just copy and paste and reply with. It's a great idea. Anything else?
Well, this chat GPT thing, that blew my mind.
Yeah, it's just literally just copy and paste. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to scan it. Yep.
I mean, that went from a 2-hour project to a 30-second project.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yep.
I was gonna say, as you know, Chris, I don't really utilize Chat GPT in my like day to day right now, but you
Mhm.
are selling me on it more and more. I will say that.
Yeah, like I said, the key with it is just to make sure, you still have to humanize it, right? It's to make you more efficient. You still have to double check the work. Like I said, I posted a video the other day because I was trying it on scanning a serial number on my appliances. And, the thing with AI is it is trained, programmed, it has to give an answer. So if it doesn't have all of the data, it will still give you an answer, but it'll just completely hallucinate the answer. I was working on something, I'm working on if you were on last week, I did the relocation guide. I built a custom GPT for that, and I have it reading a spreadsheet. And if it doesn't have all the data or it's not finding it well, it literally made up names. So I had this as a, what it is basically saying, oh, what's the couple, or what's the who is the relocating people? Where are they relocating from? Where are they relocating to? And I had a very limited subset of data there because I was just testing it out. And it literally made up names. It made up names, location they were moving from location they were moving to. And I was like, these people don't exist in this spreadsheet. Where are you getting it from? And it was because it didn't have all the data, and it has to give back output rather than say, I don't know. Like, for some reason, it's just it can't say I don't know, or I'm missing some key info. I don't know. So that's my thoughts for today. Thank you guys for being on. Thanks, Cynthia. How you doing?
Good morning.